White hot with a
we the boy to the cutter legs, when it come to play, when it come to play, ain't no hustle game, gotta get the money made, gotta get the money made, to the cutter legs, to the cutter legs, when it come to play, when it come to play, ain't no hustle game, gotta get the money made, gotta get the money made. Savage with a monster's look, not the type of citizen we see inside the church. Kissing on my enemy's grave, he got what he deserved. I don't believe in that forgiveness shit, I'm glad he got murdered. My soldiers beat I left the bullets emerge. Not a bitch is sinking for the bit of missing the circle. This world's only brought me pain since the day of my birth. Police in their crooked games, overtaking my nerve. Risky meat, some type of underwood bird. I'm under pressure every day, I'm always thinking of words. Paranoid, baby, cold, pulling up to the curb. For selling drugs and getting blind, only thing I learned. When my body used to play, I felt the soul with a burn. As if my own bitch, shit the same, absurd. Gon' remember me when I'm in the hearse. I'm in the fast lane, anything call me a curse. We the boy to the cutter legs, boy, when it come to play, when it come to play, ain't no hustle game, gotta get the money made, gotta get the money made, to the cutter legs, to the cutter legs, boy, when it come to play, when it come to play, ain't no hustle game, gotta get the money made, gotta get the money made. Every sign of robbers walking in these deadly streets, messing with the water, baking soda with some cheddar cheese, baby, that's the remedy. We ever see the recipe, we fucking with them chicken bitches. Yeah, I got some chemistry, don't flex on me. Competition, they taking a step from me, so flex a beat, cause I'm about to separate with my enemy. I'll let the streets and my blood is bled for me. I'm riding, dying, stepping quick to lying. Got a breath to be watching for the coppers in the game. They like a referee, boxes like a cotton. No one can't pay for penalties. Let them free. Soldiers on the maximum, the heavenly. Military man down the stone, now in penitentiary. No fucking with the letter G's. Back in 1323, enemies I let go fit so heavily. They rest in peace. History, you just a team. I'm making you a memory. They saying blue, I'm in the angel playing melody. Boy, to the cutter legs, boy, when it come to play, when it come to play, ain't no hustle game, gotta get the money made, to the cutter legs, to the cutter legs, boy, when it come to play, when it come to play, ain't no hustle game, gotta get the money made, gotta get the money made, boy, to the cutter legs, boy, when it come to play, when it come to play, ain't no hustle game, gotta get the money made, gotta get the money made, to the cutter legs, boy, when it come to play, when it come to play, bring the hustle game, gotta bring the hustle game, gotta get the money made, gotta get the money made.
white hot with a
We the boy to the cutter legs, boy, when it come to play, when it come to play, ain't no hustle game, gotta get the money made, gotta get the money made, to the cutter legs, boy, when it come to play, when it come to play, ain't no hustle game, gotta get the money made, gotta get the money made. Savage with a monster's look, not the type of citizen we see inside the church. Kissing on my enemies. He got what he deserved. I don't believe in that forgiveness shit. I'm glad he got murdered. I sold this weed I left the money to merge. Not a bitch, a second thought of it. I'm missing the circle. This world's only brought me pain since the day of my birth. Police in the crooked games, overtaking my nerves. Risky years of my life, some type of underworld bird. I'm under pressure every day. I'm always thinking of worse. Never know if every call pulling up to the curb. For selling drugs and doing crime, only thing I learned. When my body hits the grave, I felt the soul of the firm. As if my whole being slow, shit just sitting in the surge. I'll make you feel go remember me when I'm in the hearse. I'm in the fast lane, everything call it a curse. We the boy.
Yo, fuck these cars, what they think we gonna do? Watch your back, PK every fucking day.
KIT,
Pick around the corner when you see me, what? Simply elementary, mathematics, trigonometry. Pull the trigger back and watch me fold up the whole monopoly. There's nothing stopping me, but you think I don't know that the cops is watching me? This here is prophecy, no matter where you are, you're standing on my property. So you'll probably be beaten till you start to bleed. And once you hit the street, you know it's over, son. See you right here, shit gets overdone. Hold the gun until I'm alone. So since today wasn't the day that God came back, we might as well hit the streets and sell a few more packs. Like dead away in the trap. For those that don't make it back, the next blunt I roll will be fat. In the cracks and the crevices where the hustlers eat. That's where you can find me grinding and supplying the streets. Some days I don't sleep, cause sleep could cost me money. And it's nothing funny if I'm losing out on money. If I go broke, I'll be in the park robbing after dark. It won't even be safe to take your fucking dog for a walk. When I'm born, I just spend it like it's nothing. Money comes and goes as quick as the wind blows. It's out the window, and then I'm back here again. Some days I wonder if my next is dependent. Today, the day my life will end. And if it is, then it's on to the afterlife to pay atonement for my sins. I just tell God it is what it is.
Welcome to the land of peaches and cream, where everything is just pieces and beans. Alright. Next cities where I creep in the streets, but he did always serving pieces and beans. Alright. Welcome to the land of peaches and cream, where everything is just pieces and beans. Alright. Next cities where I creep in the streets, but he did always spread to the pieces and beans. Alright.
Behind it's getting harder and harder to make ends meet. We've seen large-scale industries outsource the cheapest possible places across the globe. And when the chips are down, and there's things that we need in this country, we are dependent on other places to get it.
Bitches, I gotta get you pop a missile. The reapers reading, he started sickle. You lost scriptures listed on top of obituaries. Poppy, you getting buried. A box in the cemetery. The block in the west cherry. The streets in the inner city. We sinning and living shitty. Big criminal sensitivity. We swinging, slinging, and zeroing and singing. Your sister's pretty. We bringing it. Give a thing to a hitter. She getting skinny. Living, we dipping quickly and swift. When we ditching 50 in the city. Only villains and militant killers with me.
Welcome to the land of peaches and cream, where everything is just pieces and beans. Alright. Next cities where I creep in the streets, but he did always serving pieces and beans. Alright. Welcome to the land of peaches and cream, where everything is just pieces and beans. Alright. Next cities where I creep in the streets,
there is no teacher in the world
beans.
who could teach you values the way his mom could. Thank you, Mom. And thank you, Brad. And thank you, Rajan, for staying with us. You were calling in a few moments ago, and we had to go to a break. And I just, one of the reasons I held you over here, your roots are in Punjab, and those are blue-collar roots. We've got...
Careful how you frame, man.
Yeah.
You're a simple people. If you watch how you say that. You get all slitty-eyed, Baz. You've been hanging out too long.
Family that's being affected by.
Damn it.
I'm definitely.
Yes, please.
All right.
Poor Whitey.
Do you think he's looking?
Dad, mom's side of the family is the one who's watching it, and we FaceTime them when we can, but it's been tough. There's a lot of miseducation, misinformation there because of the brain drain. A lot of us educated descendants came over here, so we have to reach out and make sure that we take care of them remotely. But there's a lot of, the media blackout was one scare. The farm bills are another scare. The peaceful protests have been mischaracterized. It's been a little bit stressful. It's been quite stressful, to be frank.
Rajan, send me, you know what I'm going to do? Send me an email, would you? I'd love to get your contact information because I want to bring you back as a guest, if that's okay with you.
You're like the
Yeah, I'd love to. You know, I'd say I probably wouldn't be the most educated on everything, but I'd love to give my opinion for sure.
Well, all the educated people are dead.
Most educated.
They were fighting the bugs and viruses and shit, and then they died.
At the people with their hearts and their heads screwed on right and tell us a story and join the kitchen table as a people panel person. I'd love to have you on the Charles Anthony Tonight people panel. As a matter of fact, just, Ryan, just keep Roger on hold for a second. Take his number while I get Tony on here from Burnaby. Tony, you're up next on Charles Anthony Tonight. We're talking about blue collar roots and how much pride we have on them. No one yet has said that they're ashamed of their blue collar roots. So it's been a great night for Canada. Go ahead, Tony.
Hello?
I'm listening to you.
Oh, hello, Charles. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, no, I could not be more proud. I basically have the oldest trade in the world is stonemasonry.
Hey, do you know how to build sewers?
What is it you do, Tony?
Stonemasonry.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me about that. I haven't talked to a stonemason
in the world
in a number of years.
You still have to make money first before that.
Fuck just happened.
I'm sorry. I was talking over you. I was violating your rights there, Tony. So say what you just said again, would you?
I know there's a trade they cliche they always say is the first trade in humanity, but no, stonemasonry is first.
Because they have to make money to go buy the hookers.
Are you still working as a stonemason like right now, or are you retired?
No, he just hits rocks. Mostly.
In Burnaby, I'm still a stonemason.
And how's the work?
Busy, to be honest, very busy.
So what kind of projects keeps you busy, Tony?
Castles.
And yeah, if I could, because I always listen to your show. Yeah, I'll throw a plug in. Magnum Opus Stoneworks.
That's not what he asked you.
Keeps you busy.
It keeps me very busy.
I don't mind plugging people who are creating work. Now, do you own this place or are you working for them?
No, it's a big commercial site in Burnaby.
And that's what's keeping you busy.
Very much so, sir.
All right. Well, Tony, thank you so much for the call.
Conversation.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much for taking it.
Down the road. Good luck to you, and good on you for putting in that plug. This is Caroline calling in from Winnipeg. Caroline, you're on Charles Anthony Tonight as we talk about our blue collar roots.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Caroline.
Turn down your radio.
Go ahead. We're listening to you. You might want to turn the radio down, as they say on the radio. Brian, do me a favor. There are a couple of clips here that I want to run that people would have missed if they just tuned in the last half hour. One is of Joe Biden. I think that's one of the best clips I've heard lately on this particular issue. Joe Biden is talking about how Americans can make things again. And I think it's something every Canadian should listen to, especially everyone involved in Canadian national and provincial leadership. This is the American president last night in Washington.
Simply no reason why the blades for wind turbines can't be built in Pittsburgh instead of Beijing. No reason. None. No reason. So folks, there's no reason why American workers can't lead the world in the production of electric vehicles and batteries. I mean, there is no reason. We have this capacity.
There's no reason. There's no reason Canada can't be a leader. For many, many years, Canada was one of the leaders in manufacturing. Okay? I mean, I'm not blowing smoke. I'm a son of
We
manufacturing.
are.
I've
We're
spent a lot
coming.
of time
I'm
in
not.
factories.
You're reversing my fucking high right now.
I'm going back, obviously, to the 50s and 60s.
Uh-oh.
There was probably some time in factories where I shouldn't have been there because they weren't, you weren't supposed to have kids around, heavy machinery, etc. I'm not going to, bog down in that kind of stuff. I saw a lot of stuff. I saw a lot of factories.
Shut your mouth, kid.
Why? Because my parents worked in factories, and our extended family members worked in factories,
A long line of
and our
child
neighbors worked in
laborers.
factories, and that's just the way it
You think
was.
this battery thing's a good
All
idea?
kinds of factories. And as I worked in different parts of the country, I visited factories because that's what I related to. When I worked in Hamilton, I visited the steel plants, naturally,
Surprise.
and all of the other plants that benefited from the steel.
Submarines or boats or something over here?
And I could go on and on about the various places I've worked in Ontario where I've been to the factories and the various plants that I've visited over the years in different parts of the country. And of course, I did my 5-year tour of duty in the United States. So I visited a lot of factories there. But the point is that we can make things again. And don't let anyone tell you different. And when we make things again, we make opportunities for more people who don't necessarily have a university education, and it doesn't matter a thing. If they've got those opportunities, they can still aspire to a good middle-class life, which is what they have to do in the States, which Joe Biden pointed out very, very succinctly, frankly. I don't care if the speech was 1 hour. There was 1,000 hours worth of stuff in that 1 hour speech.
How come it's
extremely well put together.
It's not vaccine. It's
I'm not trying to sit here and suck up to the Americans. That's not the
We're
point.
misspelling one of those.
I'm asking our Canadian leadership to take a look at what connects with Americans, what connects with Canadians, what connects with working people, working families.
Well, not you. You haven't taken one fucking phone call.
Before I get to a break
Good,
here,
you took one. You took
and
one.
bring on
That doesn't
Shane.
count. That was a horrible phone call.
I want to run a tremendous clip from somebody who called into the show,
Oh, fuck.
who is doing some blue-collar work as we speak.
If you replay the stonemason guy, I'm going to find you.
Well,
and
Charles, do
kill
you hear this sound? That's me sitting in my warehouse right now manufacturing blankets. Putting on the pneumatic snaps that and I have been as blue collar as you can imagine from the get-go.
Tonight's show is produced by Lady Catherine, our executive producer, Catherine Stewart, subbing tonight for Jimmy Dapo Ogunsola. And our technical producer is Ryan Lee Hall. I want to thank everyone who called in tonight. Stay with us. There's much more to come. Shane Hewitt, in a moment, to give us a preview of coming attractions next hour on the shift. This is Charles Antler tonight.
That was the word.
Let's face it, if you've lost your job,
What the fuck was all that?
To the playoffs. The Clippers are third in the West, and it's next for them. How crucial is it then for them to get themselves in that booked into that playoff, so that then the rest of the regular season?
That was horrible.
Diversity increases the risk of zoonotic diseases. The COVID-19 pandemic is a grim reminder of the relationship between people and nature. And if the humble bee becomes extinct, agricultural production.
Very quickly.
Commerçants, au mieux de les accompagner dans ces différentes étapes de réouverture.
Justement, Arnaud Robinet, Reims, c'est une ville qui compte beaucoup de commerçants en centre-ville, beaucoup de restaurants, de brasseries, également de nombreux lieux culturels. Hein. C'est une ville très vivante, Reims. C'est important de pouvoir faire repartir cet art de vivre.
Bien sûr, c'est l'art de vivre à la Rémoise est quelque chose à laquelle nous sommes très attachés, les Rémois et aussi les touristes. Et bien sûr que nous sommes tous sur la ligne de départ, entre guillemets. Il suffit d'appuyer sur le bouton au moment où on va pouvoir réouvrir aussi bien nos lieux culturels, nos musées. D'ailleurs, nos musées seront gratuits pour l'ouverture pour permettre justement aux Rémois de retrouver nos musées et nos établissements culturels. Les commerçants, bien sûr, sont dans une attente, nos restaurateurs. En tout cas, ils sont tous mobilisés, je peux vous dire, tous mobilisés pour cette réouverture et en respectant les consignes sanitaires, en s'adaptant. C'est aussi ça la responsabilisation des acteurs économiques et je tiens à les saluer.
Merci beaucoup Arnaud Robinet.
Virtual reality and augmented reality have expanded the coverage of digital reading in cloud libraries and cloud bookstores. Cloud services and the Internet of Things in the field of digital reading have also entered the fast track of development. This is Special English.
Hey, you want to know how we know that? You're speaking English real fucking slow.
Lionel Messi scored twice as Barcelona thrashed Athletic Bilbao 4-0 in April the 17th's Copa del Rey final to win the trophy for a record-extending 31st time. Antoine Griezmann put a dominant.
Now you can watch global news with your morning coffee or lunch or really any meal and stay informed about your PM or MP or MVP on demand or with 24/7 live streams for free on the Global TV app. But that was taken. What app's got it all? The new Global TV app. Download now for more global news and stream anytime. Absolutely. Case growth. Dr. Stephanie Brown says cases are flattening, but pockets of growth remain in hotspots like Peel and Toronto, and ICU occupancy is at record highs. Hospitals in hotspots are over capacity.
Our healthcare system is no longer functioning normally. We're taking the most critically ill patients, we're putting them in helicopters and into ambulances, and moving them across the province because we're searching for beds. Nurses and doctors are attending to patients in field hospitals.
Also too high workplace mobility.
And reducing this mobility will help us further drive down overall mobility and help us further drive down case rates as well.
The modeling numbers also show vaccination by neighborhood risk is improving and remains key to controlling case growth. I'm Phil Martino.
Stateside now, where law enforcement officers made a massive drug bust in Florida on Thursday. They reportedly seized more than $54 million worth of illegal street drugs.
1,342 pounds of liquid methamphetamine.
Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd said multiple law enforcement agencies, including Border Patrol, have been working on Operation Dirty Water since January.
We also seized 63 kilos of crystal meth, 2,544 Xanax.
The drugs, he said, have ties to Mexican cartels.
The Sinaloa cartel is trying to take over the Juarez cartel.
Several people from Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee were arrested. Tony Marino, ABC News, Orlando, Florida.
In just 60 seconds, we'll check your drive with Jazz.
There's always this narrative of, oh, so this family's doing this, that guy's doing that. I think drug dealers are trying to sell drugs. I mean, there's all this evidence. If there isn't any politics behind it, you should look at the crooked cops and government people. They got politics behind it.
EA, listen to me live this Saturday morning at 10 to 11 a.m. here on Experts Hour. WeFindYourCar.ca.
This guy booked an entire hour plus all these other ads. Don't ruin our buzz, Chuck. $1,300. That's a lot of pounds of liquid methamphetamine. What the fuck you do with that? You like drink it? Oh,
once again.
Jesus Christ. I thought the one interesting one I heard of this was like 2019. They found in the trunk of a like half complete car on a train 180 kilograms of methamphetamine from Mexico to Canada.
Shane Hewitt, have you got blue collar roots?
Yeah, I would think so. That's probably the best way to describe it. My grandfather was a boilermaker. My father was a millwright.
No, you work in
yeah, so that would be a yes.
They must be so
I'll bet you a lot of people who are listening right now have no idea what a boilermaker does. And millwright. Yeah. Let's start. Let's start. When you say boilermaker, it's a
Navy warship.
It hits my heart in a real soft spot, because one of my jobs at a store many years ago, when I was just a kid and probably shouldn't have been doing this, was loading coal into a boiler for a steam press. So what's a boiler, Shane Hewitt?
A boiler, well, it's a big vessel that has water in it, and usually a fire, and a handsome fellow like Charles stoking the fire. You know what a boiler is? An easiest way to describe a boiler, for those who don't know, would be a steam train.
That's right. That would be the easiest way to do it. It's really interesting when you've lived some history and you've done some things with certain appliances, and you realize that many people who are in their 20s and 30s have no idea what you're talking about. Shane Hewitt, do you realize that many people who are listening right now have never had a turntable? Now, when you grow up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, that's hard to believe, but it's true. I mean, there are many people who are listening right now who's never owned and never will own a turntable.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's good that there is a hobby around vinyl collection and turntables today, so people can hear it. The old hi-fi stereos were so incredibly amazing. It sounded amazing.
No, none of that's true. The one thing that's true is those vinyl records will outlast just about anything else in terms of recording media.
The daytime high today is 7 degrees. And right now in downtown Toronto, some light rain, 10 degrees. Over at Pearson Airport, similar conditions, 9 degrees, feeling like 6. Coming up at the top of the hour, the latest on the province updating its vaccine rollout timeline, revealing when age group will qualify as Canada prepares to receive double the doses of COVID-19 vaccines next month. 680 News Time, 12:53.
Doug Ford says schools are safe, but it's not true. 1 in 4 Ontario schools have active COVID-19 cases. Ford didn't do what experts told him to do to keep kids safe. Now the virus is out of control and we're facing school closures again. Half measures don't work. It's time to make vaccines available to all educators and frontline workers. Schools won't be safe until transmission is under control. A message from the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario.
Be the first to know
The moment it happens.
with 680 News breaking news alerts.
Powered by the Monitoring Center Home Security.
Now partnered with TAC Dispatch.
Subscribe now.
680news.com.
Arrests have been made in the theft of Lady Gaga's French bulldogs.
Police have arrested 5 people in the February theft of Lady Gaga's dogs and the shooting of her dog Walker. One of the 5 people arrested
The dog's name is
who
Walker?
returned the dogs to the singer-actor. In a statement, the LAPD says
Yeah,
detectives
dog
don't believe the thieves
Walker.
knew the dogs belonged to Lady
Walker.
Gaga.
Yeah, we
and
got to
that
do
motive
that. We got to
appeared
name
be
the dog
money.
Walker.
French
That's what we got
bulldogs
to do.
can cost thousands of dollars. The dog walker, Ryan Fisher, is recovering from his gunshot wound. The dogs were returned 2 days later. I'm Oscar Wells.
What if she finds out that he was in on it?
And Durham Region has launched a pilot project
I've
to help
listened to too
people
many radio
experiencing
dramas,
homelessness
Johnny Dollar.
put a roof over their heads. The project is made up of 10 micro home units at the corner of Olive Avenue and Drew Street in downtown Oshawa. Residents will also be offered financial assistance, employment services, mental health, and addiction support. They should be ready for people to move in this fall. In just 60 seconds, your Friday morning business report with Stuart McGinn. 680 News Time, 12:55.
If you're driving less these days, I've got good news and bad news. Good news, you're saving on gas. Bad news, a vehicle that sits may develop issues. Good news, the all-in spring event has you covered. Receive a free seasonal tire changeover and brake inspection with the purchase of Peace of Mind maintenance service. Plus, get $20 off Mopar or Magnetic Pirelli brakes when you sign up for Mopar exclusives. And buy 3 tires, get the 4th free. See your Chrysler Dodge Jeep or Ram dealer for details. We built it, we know it.
Why not buy 4 and get your spare for free? What the fuck is wrong with people?
It's the sound of medicine. When you stay at a Ronald McDonald House, close to your sick child, family is medicine. And right now, it's helping Ryan battle leukemia. When families stay together at a Ronald McDonald House near the hospital, sick children get stronger.
680 News Time, 12:56.
The other patient said those ambulances might be moving too.
Good morning and welcome to Friday. Well, who wants to miss out on the next big thing? It's the focus of a new fund in the works that'll be named the Thematic All-Stars ETF. The The fund is designed to track the hottest stock market themes and will not allow a company to make up more than 5% of its overall holdings. Behind the idea is a company called Amplify Investments, which had over $4.7 billion in assets across its already established ETFs as of March. It's not the first idea of its kind, though, as the rally for so-called meme stocks has generated the Buzz ETF, which tracks the most favorably mentioned stocks on social media, or the appropriately named FOMO, or Fear of Missing Out Fund, which tracks current and emerging market trends. Markets are coming off a mixed session with Wall Street higher. The Dow was up nearly 250 points, the S&P 500 climbing more than 0.5% to close near a record at 4,211, and a modest climb for the Nasdaq to 14,082. It was up 31 points. Thursday was a losing session for Bay Street. The TSX down 100 to 19,255. Now with more market headlines, here's Bloomberg Radio.
The movies aren't dead, but it is a slow road to recovery as audiences slowly filter back. Warner Brothers this weekend goes for a 6th consecutive U.S. box office win with Mortal Kombat. It's vindication for the studio's decision to release films simultaneously in theaters and on its streaming service, HBO Max. Subscriptions have climbed faster than expected. It's a big day for big oil. ExxonMobil and Chevron are due to report first quarter earnings today. We'll find out more about how they were affected by February's deep freeze and power outages in Texas. Amazon will also be in the spotlight after reporting blockbuster first quarter results last night, easing fears that e-commerce sales would slump as the pandemic fades. Lowry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
And at the Business Center, I'm Stuart McGinn.
Be the first to know breaking news as soon as it happens. Much like fake news.
Your life has taken a bit of a break, but your dental health shouldn't. Your side bacon, it's safe to cook meat. A message from the 60,000 teachers and education workers of the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation. Welcome to Cooking Naked. I'm your host, Brenda Stewart, and I'm completely nude right now in my kitchen. I don't usually cook bacon naked, but today I'm cooking with Lou's Kitchen double smoked back bacon. With over 85% less fat than regular side bacon, it's...
Right, the breakfast cereal shot from guns. Present the challenge.
I could.
Lou's Kitchen double smoked back bacon. Find it today at Sobeys, Loblaws, Walmart, and Metro. Compared to the national brand's 54-gram regular side bacon.
Dads, we all got one.
Close the fridge door, will ya? You're letting all the cold air out.
Always trying to save a buck or two around the house.
Are you almost done in there? You've been running the water for 20 minutes.
At LG Home Comfort, they're dads too, and mom.
KCRW.com/eclectic24 or stream on the KCRW mobile app.
News China, you got news China?
不会，但是我会拉小提琴。
Learn more. But what do I say? Have you ever tried weed? Did you like it?
Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to just drive to the next window for your order because there are people waiting behind you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. The next window. Yeah, right over there. Thank you.
Looking for tips on how to talk with your teens about cannabis? Visit drugfreekidscanada.org for more tools to help start the conversation. drugfreekidscanada.org.
We believe in a greater Toronto. This is CFMJ Global News Radio.
This is Global News. I'm Toby Kerr. The federal Liberal government is tapping former Supreme Court Justice and UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Louise Arbour to lead what it says is an independent review of the military's handling of sexual misconduct.
Louise Arbour's appointment comes nearly 3 months after the government and Canadian Armed Forces were rocked by allegations of inappropriate sexual behavior by the military's very top commanders. Arbour is being charged with not only helping to establish an independent system for victims and others to report incidents, but will review all aspects of the military's approach to preventing and punishing misconduct. That includes everything from how it screens, recruits, and trains service members to the way reports are handled, victims are supported, and perpetrators are investigated and punished. Arbour will not be looking at individual cases, a number of which are currently under investigation. Terry Pedro, The Canadian Press, Ottawa.
We'll see a large increase in the number of COVID-19 vaccine doses coming into our country starting next week. The man in charge of the vaccine rollout, Major General Danny Fortin, outlines the new numbers.
The ramping up of the vaccine rollout continues with the arrival in country of another vaccine. We'll see at least 2 million a week moving forward. And this allows more and more Canadians to get vaccinated quickly and efficiently.
Based on what they've been told by Ottawa, Ontario and Quebec say the age restrictions on inoculations will be lowered throughout the next month, making vaccines available to adults over 18 years of age by the end of May. It's the shot they've been waiting for. All teachers and childcare providers in Manitoba will soon be eligible for a COVID-19 vaccine. But as Global Skylar Peters explains, they'll have to hit the road to get it.
The Premier teased details of an extension to last week's cross-border vaccination initiative with North Dakota that's currently helping Manitoba truckers get their shots. Next week, the province will release details of how teachers and childcare center workers will be able to do the same. But some are wondering why Manitoba is leaving it up to their southern neighbors to get our educators vaccinated. Brian Pallister reminded us that under the age and community-based guidelines, a lot of teachers are already eligible. And for those wondering, North Dakota isn't able to simply send up their surplus doses of the vaccine due to a rule from the White House. Skylar Peters, Global News.
Even as vaccination rates increase around the globe, a World Health Organization director says the surge of COVID-19 in India should act as a warning to every country.
At a virtual briefing in Copenhagen, WHO European Director Hans Klug says the B1617 Indian variant is now considered a variant of interest by the International Health Group.
I think it's very important to realize that the situation in India can happen anywhere. This is still a huge challenge in the countries.
He adds, when personal protective measures are being relaxed, when there are mass gatherings, when there are more contagious variants, and the vaccination coverage is still low, this can create a perfect storm anywhere. Tom Rivers, ABC News at the Foreign Desk.
And at least 44 people have been killed in a stampede at a large Jewish religious festival in northern Israel. Local news agencies say at least 100 more people are believed to be hurt, 38 thought to be in critical condition. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called it a great tragedy and says everyone is praying for the victims. It's not yet clear how the stampede started. In sports, two matchups in the NHL's North Division. The Calgary Flames beat the Edmonton Oilers 3-1. The Flames now just 4 points back of Montreal for the fourth and final playoff spot in the All-Canadian Division. The Maple Leafs beat the Vancouver Canucks 4-1. Austin Matthews scoring his league-leading 36th goal of the year.
The Matthews will never suspect me.
Dirk Crane would have been surprised if he had heard the conversation that was taking place at Mounted Police Headquarters in Dawson City, as Inspector Grayson talked earnestly to Sergeant Preston. Beside the sergeant lay King, the Mounties' big lead dog, his head raised, his ears pointed forward, as if he too were listening to the words of the inspector.
According to Corporal Andrews, this Dirk Crane, who runs the trading post, is honest and law-abiding. But we can't afford to leave anything or anyone unchecked. The fact remains that most of these fur robberies and murders have been committed in the territory within trading distance of his place. No furs that were stolen have ever been recovered, and he's never reported anyone who might be suspected. Have you ever met Dirk Crane, Sergeant?
Why, no, sir, I haven't. I've never been in that district.
That's what I hoped. Sergeant, would it take you long to grow a beard?
A beard? Why, no, sir.
Well, start growing one today. I'm going to send you up to Dirk Crane's district, but you won't be going as a mounted policeman.
I see, sir.
This isn't going to be too easy. The disguise is only part of it. You're going to have to do a bit of acting.
I did quite a bit of plainclothes work in Montreal.
You're not going to be just a prospector or a trapper. You're going to play the role of a murderer.
A murderer? That is a bit different, sir.
You'll have to work out the details yourself. But some way, I want you to represent yourself to Dirk Crane as a man the law is after. If Dirk Crane is on the level, he'll report you. If he isn't, there's just a chance that he may ask you to replace the man who was killed in the last robbery.
I understand.
We may be going to a lot of trouble for nothing. But on the other hand, we must be sure.
May I take King with me, sir?
I don't know. Someone might recognize him. After all, he can't grow a beard.
No one up there has ever seen King, Inspector. They might know him by reputation, but they'd never recognize him.
His name might make them suspect.
A lot of dogs are called King, sir. King's had so many dogs named after him. The whole Yukon Territory is full of them.
Yeah, you can't take him up there looking like he does now. Look at him. His coat all brushed, clean and sleek. Nobody'd ever take him for a dog belonging to a criminal.
When we meet Dirk Crane, King won't look like that, I promise you.
Very well, Sergeant. I know what a hardship it would be for both of you if you were separated.
It's not a fair
The King with you.
stereotype.
Obviously. It'll take you some time to get ready for this job, Sergeant. Think it all out first. And report to me before you leave.
People never said nothing about my
It
clothes
took
when they were
Sergeant
dressed up nice
Preston
and
almost
just
2
all in
weeks to get up to the
rags.
district where Dirk
Because they
Crane
saw
ran
the
his training
dog
post.
was in exceptionally healthy
Corporal Andrews
condition.
of the Northwest Mounted Police lived about 5 miles from Dirk Crane's. He sat alone in his police cabin reading a book. It was very late. The corporal had put his book aside and started to bed when there was a knock at his door.
Good evening.
Something wrong? Who are you?
Do you mind if my dog and I come in and get warm?
Why, no, come on in.
Thanks.
Just sit down near the stove. You lost?
No.
Well, you in trouble? I'm Corporal Andrews of the Northwest Mounted Police. This is the police cabin.
That's just where I belong.
Well, what do you...
Still don't know me, do you, Charlie? You don't even recognize King. So he almost wagged his tail off when he saw you.
Oh, Preston! Well, what on
I
earth?
thought I'd try you first. That's why I didn't let you know I was coming.
All the bedraggled-looking people I ever saw. And King, look at his coat, his fur.
Poor King, he's puzzled about all this, I suppose.
Well, he's not the only one. What are you up to?
The inspector sent me to help you with this fur robbery and murder.
I couldn't ask for anyone better, but why the masquerade?
He thinks perhaps Dirk Crane has something to do with it.
Dirk Crane? I know Dirk. When you see him, you'll know that he couldn't have anything to do with the holdup. He's so fat and so big, he'd be spotted in a minute. I'm afraid the inspector's wrong this time.
Those are my orders, Charlie. I'm going to wait for the next blizzard. And by the looks of things, there's one on the way right now. Then I'm going to pretend to get lost.
It was the following night that Dirk Crane started to turn down the light in his trading post. He knew that no one would brave the terrible storm that whistled around the walls, and he'd have no more customers that night. As his hand reached for the lamp, he hesitated and listened. He was sure he had heard a dog bark.
There's such a dog. Wonder if someone's getting it. Hey, what's wrong with you? This committee tab coming.
Over here.
All right. Throw your arm over my shoulder. Hey, come on. Can you walk?
I'll try.
It's just a few more steps. It's a good thing that dog was with you. That never hurt you. Now, here we are. Lift up your feet.
I'll try.
There's a cot in the back room.
Quiet. Get away.
What's that? Here, lie down. I'll cover you.
I want to get away. The hangman who killed their partners.
You killed somebody.
Gotta keep going. Don't want to hang.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Drink this, yeah. That will warm you, Happy. Take it on the swallow. What's your name?
Name? Gotta keep going. Please.
Now and try to sleep. You know what you say.
Gotta keep going.
Looks as if that master of yours is in a bad spot again. Maybe he's just the man I'm looking for.
We'll continue our story in just a moment. For a breakfast that's delicious, for a breakfast that's nutritious, remember the...
Conversation and more coming up for you next. It was a very, very busy day in the headlines land on Thursday, April 9th. Let's check in on some of the biggest stories affecting Canada and the all-night headlines.
Here's your all-night headlines.
Global News has uncovered exclusive details. Did I have the wrong day here? Wait a second. Yeah, I did. That's last night's news. How do you feel about news from Wednesday?
I mean, if it does make you feel any better,
The first headline in today's headlines is related to military investigations.
Yeah. Is it the same headline? Wait a second. Nope. Canada Military Invest.
Yes.
Canada Military Police. Okay, yeah, you're right. That's what threw me off.
Yes.
Yeah, see, I just took it for granted. This is so far, mail-in and Fridays is working well.
Love it.
Let's start that again. Former Supreme Court Justice Louise Arbour will lead an independent external review of how the Canadian Armed Forces handles sexual harassment and misconduct allegations within its ranks. Mercedes Stevenson looks at the goal of this review and what's being promised.
In early February, allegations of sexual misconduct against the military's former top soldier, General Jonathan Vance, stunned the country and the forces. That single story triggered an avalanche, a reckoning in the military as victims came forward.
The hardest part is knowing there's nowhere to turn to. We don't have a seat at the table. We're not getting justice.
The Liberal government has come under fire. The Prime Minister's Chief of Staff and the Defence Minister were both aware of allegations against Vance in 2018. The self-styled feminist government failed to implement key recommendations from the landmark Deschamps report into military misconduct in 2015. It all made Madame Louise Arbour dubious of the value of yet another report when the government came calling.
My first reaction was, well, Justice Deschamps was there. When was it? It seemed just a few years ago. How many times is it going to take to look at this?
Ultimately, Madame Arbour concluded a renewed and broader review of military sexual misconduct was needed. Arbour says trust has been undermined in the forces and operational effectiveness is at risk.
Maybe 6 years later, this might be the opportunity to actually put it right.
Her review will look into the force's promotion system that enabled toxic leadership, the military justice system victims say has failed them, and an external independent reporting mechanism outside the chain of command.
We have heard you, we have listened, and we are taking action.
The promised changes include a culture czar who will review the armed forces policies, but there's little detail on what newly minted Lieutenant General Carignan will do.
What powers that will be determined in the next few weeks as we are confirming and working a clear mandate.
Victims of military sexual assault, like Leah West, say the government has known about the need for external reporting for years, and it should have been announced today.
It should have happened then. It has not. And that is a failure, I think, of leadership on behalf of the Minister of National Defense and of the Trudeau government. Mercedes, you broke the story about sexual misconduct allegations against the former Chief of the Defense Staff, General Jonathan Vance. That is in large part what spurred this renewed focus on what is a long-standing problem in the military. Is this new external review going to look at the allegations against Vance?
Donna, it will not look at the allegations against Vance, and I have that directly from Madame Arbour herself when I talked to her this afternoon. She said she will be looking at systemic issues in culture, but not specific cases. That leaves that case in the hands of military police and the military justice system, areas that victims have raised concerns about as to whether or not the system could lay charges or could actually carry out a trial if those charges are laid. Ultimately, victims remain skeptical but hopeful, Donna.
Okay, Mercedes Stevenson in Ottawa, thank you.
It's Friday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adults in Ontario and Quebec have been promised their first dose of COVID-19 vaccine within the next month. Heather Yerkes-West reports on how Canada's vaccine rollout is gaining momentum as essential workers hope they will get their shot soon.
For workers,
it's driving me fucking insane. I've got hairs cutting through scar tissue. It's not pleasant.
Thought maybe you had. You're sure?
Positive.
Well, if you do see him, try and hold him here if possible. I'll be back sometime tomorrow evening.
You bet that will, Corporal.
Thanks, Dirk. Bye.
Good luck, Corporal. You can come out now, Mr. Smith.
Has he gone?
You know he has. You heard everything we said.
Yes. Yes, I did. Thanks for not telling him about me, but why are you doing this for me?
Maybe it's just because I don't like Mondays. And maybe, well, could be another reason.
What is it?
Before I tell you, I'll have to talk to a friend of mine. He's at a cabin hidden where no one can find it. Not far from here. You may want some company in that cabin. Maybe I can give you a hint if it'll make you more comfortable. You see that pile of furs there in the corner?
Yes?
I make a clear profit on them. And part of it can be yours if you play along.
You mean steal them?
Maybe. In addition to keeping hidden from the mountains, you can make enough to get out of the country.
I'll play along.
Good. But before we come to an agreement, I have to make a short visit to the cabin alone. I'm going to lock you in the storeroom, you and your dog, until I return.
Very well.
Just a precaution. I don't trust anyone. That's my motto.
Dirk Crane took a long roundabout trail to the cabin. He was puffing and out of breath when he entered it and put a sack of supplies on the table.
I thought you'd been doing these, lad.
It's about time you showed up. I'm going crazy here all by myself. One more job and I'm taking my money and getting out.
So you miss Jules after all.
At least we can play poker.
Well, you don't have to worry anymore. I found the man we need.
Yeah?
The police are after him. He murdered a man. I take it he isn't any more squeamish about that sort of thing than you are.
How did you find all this out?
He got lost in the blizzard last night, trying to run away.
Where did he kill this man?
About 20 miles from here. Corporal Andrews came in and told me about it while he was hiding in the back room.
So the mommies know about it already.
An Indian reported it to Andrews this morning. It happened 3 days ago. This killer was hiding out, then got lost in the blizzard.
He didn't get very far in 3 days. This all sounds a little fishy to me.
Why?
Why could he come to your trading post? He must have known that's where the Mounties would check.
He probably wouldn't have come there if his dog hadn't brought him. He didn't know where he was. He has a very intelligent dog. Big, handsome brute that never lets him out of his sight.
What's the dog's name?
He calls him King.
Oh, King.
I believe.
Dirk, when I was in Dawson, once there was a Mountie there with a dog named King. They put him on to me. How do we know that?
Being alone has made you suspicious, lad. There are hundreds of dogs named King. Do you think this fella in my storeroom is a Mountie?
Well,
you should see him. The Mounties are always well groomed.
Maybe so, unless they pose as killers to get the goods in a couple of
I know this man's all right, Lyman. I'll bring him up to you tonight, and you can see him for yourself.
All right, bring him up. But don't bring his dog with him.
Try not.
If he is the Mountie, I want to deal with him alone.
I'll bring him up here after dark, and you can look him over.
Without the dog.
Yes, without the dog.
Sergeant Preston, still wearing his disguise, was waiting when Dirk Crane returned and told about the meeting with Lyman. The two were ready to set out when Crane said,
Just a minute, Mr. Smith. Your dog stays here.
Why can't King go with us?
Lyman's orders. He wants to talk to you, but he told me to leave the dog behind.
King won't like that.
Tell him to get back.
Sorry, King, you're not going this trip. Get back, boy. I said get back.
Good thing he obeys you.
I'm not joining up with you and your pal unless that dog stays with me.
That will probably be all right after you and Lyman get acquainted. But not at this first meeting.
All right.
Let's get going.
Now, King, stay there, boy.
King clawed at the door and barked a protest at being left behind. His instincts told him that despite his master's command, Sergeant Preston had wanted to take him along. He barked and whined and clawed, but the door was solid. Sergeant Preston was tense with excitement as he followed the huge figure of Dirk Crane through the woods that night. He hadn't dared to bring his gun with him for fear of rousing suspicion, but he hadn't counted on King's being left behind. Dirk Crane outlined his proposition as he trudged through the snow with Preston at his side.
So you see, Smith, it's perfect. I can do the furs and split 3 ways.
That sounds fair enough to me.
The cabin has a storeroom in back of it, but I keep the furs for a while. I take them out gradually. It's foolproof, you see.
I see. Dirk, you sound like a man who's been educated.
Yes, so do you, Smith. That's one reason I'm glad you're joining us. You, like me, are probably the black sheep of a good family. Well, we'll have enough money soon to go back to the great world again. Well, here's the cabin.
Meantime, alone in the trading post, King whimpered and whined and scratched at the door for some time. Then he realized that this was useless. He lay on the floor with his nose close to the door, and presently he heard approaching footsteps. He rose and waited. It was not the step of Sergeant Preston that he heard. It was only old Pierre LeBlanc, who had dropped in late for some tobacco. He opened the door, and King leaped through the opening.
That dog! He almost knocked me down. Dirk! Dirk! Nobody is here. Oh, well, I take my tobacco and leave mine.
As Sergeant Preston and Dirk Crane entered the cabin in the woods, the tall figure of Jay Lyman rose to greet them. The lamp was turned low and the light was dim.
Hello, Dirk. Lyman, this is the man who cooked himself, Mr. Smith.
Howdy. Hello, Lyman.
Hang your bark on that nail. It's fine in here.
Thanks. Want me to put yours here, Dirk?
I'll keep mine on. We're not going to stay long. I left the store unlocked.
I'll turn this lamp up. It's so dim I can hardly see it.
Smith may throw in with us, Lyman. You'll have plenty of time to explain our message and what he'll have to do.
Yeah.
I hope you two will get along together. You're going to be seeing a lot of each other.
Mind if I sit down?
Stay right where you are. Put up your hands.
What? Lyman, again, Smith isn't armed.
The good thing he isn't carrying a gun. I'd have shot first and talked afterwards. This is the Mountie I told you about, the one I saw in Dawson.
You're sure, Lyman?
You think I'm a Mountie?
I don't think. I know. If Dirk hadn't told me about that dog that brought you to the trading post, you might have fooled me with those clothes and that beard. I might not have noticed the resemblance. Now keep back and keep those hands up. Dirk will tell you I'm a very good shot.
He's an excellent shot. What's your name, Monty?
I can tell you. It's Sergeant Preston.
You could be mistaken.
I'm afraid it won't make any difference, Sergeant. Or Smith. Or whatever your name is. We can't afford to take a chance.
Take a chance?
Even if you're not Sergeant Preston. Your resemblance to him is unfortunate. I'm afraid we'll have to dispose of you.
If I am Sergeant Preston, Corporal Andrews would know it. You thought of that?
We'll deal with Corporal Andrews later. As soon as he gets back.
Shall I give it to him now?
You know I dislike violence. Me first. Goodbye, Sergeant Preston. It's too bad we couldn't work together. I was beginning to like you.
Hurry up and get out. I want to get this over with.
Try to do it with just one shot, Lyman.
Well, as Dirk opened the door, a great body streaked past him into the room, almost knocking him from his feet, as King with a roar launched himself at Lyman, throwing him to the floor.
Get away! Get away! Get away!
As the big dog charged, Sergeant Preston sprang into action, and his fist crashed against Dirk's paw, sending the big man sprawling.
That'll take care of you for a while. I have his gun, King. Back, fella. On guard, boy. All right, you two, get up. I am Sergeant Preston, and I arrest you both in the name of the Queen.
How did that dog get here?
I don't know, but I'm very glad he came. I'll take you both back to the trading post. Corporal Andrews has orders to come back tonight to see what I've discovered. I'll have a surprise for him.
You wouldn't have if it hadn't been for that dog.
You're right. King, I don't know how you got out of that trading post, but you made it just in time, boy. And now this case is closed.
In just a moment, Sergeant Preston will give you a preview of Friday's adventure. Discover why Quaker Puff Wheat and Quaker Puff Rice win the praise of many a He-Man Hollywood movie star. Eat wheat or rice shot from...
Course to reach new customers. So learn how to go from this to this.
Hello, how may I help you?
Register now for a free 30-minute virtual consultation. And now is the perfect time with our back to business exclusive packages. Chorus.online/radio.
It's upon us. Spring homes get a new twinkle in their eye, a new spring.
Radio dramas, a feature of the Challenge of the Youth Incorporated, are created and produced by George W. Trendle directed by Fred Flowerday, and supervised by Charles D. Livingston. The part of Sergeant Preston is played by Paul Sutton. They are brought to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the same time by Quaker Puff Wheat and Quaker Puff Rice, the breakfast cereal shot from guns. Little Friday, when Sergeant Preston and Yukon King meet the challenge of the Yukon in the case of ambush.
When King and I found the man who had ambushed me, the case was by no means closed. There was a lot of thrilling action before we finally solved the mystery of Blue Nose Canyon.
Be sure to hear this exciting adventure Friday. For a delicious hot breakfast, eat Quaker Oats. The giant of the cereals is Quaker Oats. Yes, the giant of the cereals is Quaker Oats. Delicious, nutritious, makes you feel ambitious. The giant of the cereals is Quaker Oats.
Yeah, we can see it's going up and down.
Say, boys and girls, you want to be a star someday in sports and activities? Then start on good Quaker Oats breakfast tomorrow. Because nourishing oatmeal gives you more growth and endurance than any other whole grain cereal. Still less than 1 penny a serving. Quaker and Mother's Oats are the same.
One script that still works, and you keep using it over and over and over.
Warding full-time sustainable real estate business that gets results. Our properties have become more than just our homes. They become our offices.
So long. This is ABC, the American Broadcasting Company.
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 1540, the voice of multicultural Toronto, bringing you the latest updates on COVID-19. Stay informed, stay safe, and stay tuned to Chin Radio AM 1540.
Now, as gunshots echo across the wind-swept, snow-covered reaches of the wild Northwest, Quaker Puff Wheat and Quaker Puff Rice, the breakfast cereal shot from guns, present the challenge of the Yukon. It's Yukon King, swiftest and strongest lead dog of the Northwest, blazing the trail for Sergeant Preston of the Northwest Mounted Police in his relentless pursuit of lawbreakers.
On King, on you Huskies!
Gold discovered in the Yukon. A stampede to the Klondike in the wild race for riches.
As priceless as Mom is, she's more than worth it. Spence Diamond.
The challenge of the Yukon. Come and get it. Here's a bell ringer breakfast dish. A heaping bowl full of Quaker Puff Wheat or Quaker Puff Rice, covered with milk or rich yellow cream and topped with luscious strawberries or sliced bananas. Just taste the tender crispness, the delicious nut-like flavor of Quaker Puff Wheat and Quaker Puff Rice. For this bell ringer breakfast treat, hurry and get delicious Quaker Puff Rice and Quaker Puff Wheat. The first show at the music hall was over at 10:30. Sue Marion had an hour before the next performance and decided to take a walk along the riverfront. There was a great deal of activity around the wharf where the Yukon Belle was tied up. The steamer was due to sail for St. Michael at midnight. There was a constant stream of passengers and crew members up the gangplank. Sue watched them idly until she saw a man step out of the steamship company's office at the end of the wharf. As he stood for a second in the lighted doorway, she recognized him.
Tim Blake. Tim!
At the sound of his name, the man started to run down Front Street. Sue took after him.
Stop! Stop, Tim!
She caught up with him in the shadow of one of the warehouses and grabbed hold of his leather jacket.
Stop! I finally found you.
Let go of me.
Where's my $500?
What 500?
You know very well. The 500 you still owe on the claim you bought from Dan.
I don't owe you anything. The claim was no good.
It certainly was. Dad made a good living out of it. And you're going to pay me what you owe me.
All right, all right. I'll do it as soon as I get the money. Let me go.
Wait a minute. What were you doing in the steamship office?
It's my business.
You were leaving on the Yukon Bell.
Now, what if I am? There's no law against it, is there?
I think maybe there is. You're not going to leave the territory without paying what you owe me. I'll get the Northwest Mounted to stop you.
Don't you dare go near headquarters.
Why not? Why shouldn't I? If you have enough money for passage to the States, you've got enough to pay me.
You keep away from the police.
Well, pay me then.
I can't, and I won't. I've got to get out of the territory. Don't you try to stop me, or it'll be the sorriest day of your life.
Oh, so now you're trying to threaten me. Well, I'm not afraid of you, Tim.
You better be. You don't want your sweetheart Johnny Larkin to hang. You better leave me alone.
What's that?
He's killed a man, that's what he's done.
You're crazy. I saw Johnny this afternoon just before he left town.
Yes, but he didn't leave, see? If you try to make any trouble for me, I'll put a noose around his neck. Now let me go.
Tim pulled away and ran down the street. The girl watched him go.
Nothing but a stupid lie. He's just trying to scare me. He wants me to waste my time looking for Johnny so he can get away. Well, I won't do it. Johnny isn't in town, and I'm going straight to headquarters. No. First I'll get the papers that prove Tim owes me the money.
Sue stopped at her cabin, then ran all the way to the Northwest Mounted headquarters. She found Sergeant Preston and Constable Downey on duty. The great dog King was lying beside his master's desk.
Good evening, Sergeant.
Oh, hello, Sue. What can I do for you?
I want to find out about my rights, Sergeant.
Rights?
Well, Tim Blake owes me $500, and he's trying to skip town without paying me. He's sailing on the Yukon Bell tonight. Isn't there some way you can stop him?
You have proof of this debt?
Yes, sir, right here.
Sue told her story. Then the sergeant walked down to the waterfront with her. They found the purser of the Yukon Bell and...
Well, no, Sergeant. I didn't exactly sell Tim a ticket. I didn't have any to sell. But he got one all right.
Oh, how was that?
From George Foster. Offered him an extra $100 for his statement.
Then that proves he has money. The mean old skinflint. And trying to scare me, too.
Scare you?
Well, he said he'd make trouble for Johnny Larkin and me if I went to the police.
They threatened you.
Well, I guess you'd call it that.
Then Tim's broken the law. If you want to press charges...
All I want is my
You'll
money.
press charges to keep him here.
Of course.
That makes everything very simple. You go on board, Mike?
Not yet. He left here to get his baggage.
Know where he's been living?
The palace.
I'll try to catch him there.
Sergeant, I have to get back to the music hall. I've got another show coming.
All right, go right ahead.
But first, I guess I ought to tell you about the threat, I mean. Tim said he... Of course, it's perfectly ridiculous. It's just a stupid lie. But he said that if I went to the police, Johnny that he'd...
What?
Oh, no, it's so stupid. There's no sense in even mentioning it.
Well, tell me, Sue. If I have to arrest him for threatening you, I must be sure of my facts.
Well, he said he'd put a noose around Johnny's neck for murder.
Murder?
Johnny Larkin?
As if Johnny would kill a man. As if he ever had or ever could. It's so silly.
There's nothing silly about the word murder. Come on, King.
Sleepy Martin, the night clerk at the palace, was drowsing behind the desk when the sergeant and King walked into the lobby. The sergeant reached over and shook him by the shoulder.
Wake up, sweetheart.
Yeah, what's the number of your room?
Wake up, man. Sergeant Preston.
Huh? Oh, yeah, so it is. Well, how are you, Sergeant?
Tim Blake registered here?
Yeah, that'd be room 308. Now, wait a minute. He checked out.
How long ago?
What time is it? Oh, 11, huh? Well, about an hour ago, I guess.
Take his baggage with him?
No, he said he'd be back for it.
He hasn't come back yet?
Well, I couldn't rightly say as to that, Sergeant. I didn't see him.
You've been asleep.
Well, I always take a little nap early in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's see. His key's gone. Of course, he could have just reached over the desk and got it, or maybe didn't give it to me when he went out. I don't remember.
You have a pass key for the room?
Oh, sure.
Let me have it.
Sure thing, Sergeant. Anything wrong?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Here you are.
Thanks.
There was only one lamp lit in the third-floor corridor, and as the sergeant started toward the back of the hotel, he had to look closely to make out the numbers on the doors. As they passed 306, King stopped and sniffed at the crack beneath the door.
It's the next one, King.
The sergeant unlocked and opened the door. The room was dark. He lit a match and stepped inside.
No baggage here, King. The bird's flown. Well, we'll catch him at the steamer. Come on, boy.
But on their way back down the corridor, King stopped at 306 once more. And this time he growled deep in his throat.
What's the matter, King? Something you don't like in there? Tim said murder. We'll take a look.
Once more, the sergeant lit a match. And even by its dim light, he could see the room was a shambles. The cot overturned, the table and chair broken, splinters of glass from the lamp on the floor. King trotted over to a dark stain near the foot of the bed. The sergeant lit another match.
Blood. Not even dried. But no one here. And there's the back stairs, of course. I don't like it either, boy. It took quite a fight to wreck this room. Wonder if Sleepy heard anything. And he can at least tell me whose room this is. Come on, boy.
The sergeant and King ran down the stairs to the lobby. Sleepy lifted his head from his arms as he saw them.
Oh, Sergeant. Was he there?
No. Who lives in 306?
Why, that'd be Ruth Jennings.
Did you hear anything that sounded like a fight on the 3rd floor tonight within the last hour?
I know it, Sergeant.
Well, this is important. Try to remember. Was Ruth Jennings in his room tonight?
Now, it seems to me that... Well, yeah, I heard him talking to some of the boys. Said he was going to get some sleep and go over to the Monte Carlo later.
Anyone ask for him later in the evening?
For Ruth? Yeah, Sergeant. Johnny Larkin came in here about 9 o'clock and asked for him.
Johnny Larkin?
I gave him Ruth's number, but he just turned on his heel and walked on.
He could have come in again with a back way.
You're saying that Johnny Larkin and Ruth had a fight tonight?
They may have, Sleepy. So far, it's a complete mystery. But it may be a mystery that involves murder.
We'll continue our adventure in just a moment.
They should be dangling a carrot.
Do you want?
Yes.
I don't blame you.
I used to travel like once a month.
Yeah, I even had somebody say to me, Yvonne, recently that they for their own belief system, for whatever, they don't want to get the vaccine. And they said, and it was, I listened to what they were saying, and this is what they said. They said, look, I'm not against the vaccine. I'm not against vaccines. I'm okay with waiting to see what happens and they learn more. And I think that's fair opinion for someone. I don't agree with it, but I think it's a fair opinion. That's what someone said to me. But then they said this. They said, unless I need to prove I have a vaccine to travel, then I'll get it. So you're not alone in that. Want to travel?
Well, I mean, I travel and I'm getting my vaccine. Like I already had my first one in April, like earlier in April. So I'll be getting my second one July 3rd, and I want to be able to go. I have family in Europe. I have the world to see. I mean, I'm getting old and I want to see the rest of the world. So
yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, you're not alone in wanting things to open up. Thanks, Yvonne, for the time. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
877-399-9898. Yvonne's not alone. A couple of texts coming in.
And crisp, fresh goodness.
Let's go to Brad, who's in Toronto. Hi, Brad.
Hello, how you doing, man?
Good, thanks, buddy. What do you want? I gotta find a better way to ask this question because I'm like, hey, Brad, what do you want? Like, Brad, the topic is, what do you want right now from COVID? What do you want?
What do I want right now? I'm an artist, musician, and a lot of my musical friends in the community has suffered greatly. And the government decided, or the Ontario government decided to stop streaming. And, we were trying to, look at
packages of Quaker Puff rice. You don't pay a single extra penny for these 59 larger, easier to build models. They come only with delicious Quaker Puff wheat and Quaker Puff rice. Get yours right away. Now to continue. From the Palace Hotel, Sergeant Preston went to the music hall and questioned Sue in her dressing room.
Why didn't I forget about the money?
Well, take it easy, Sue. I'm not accusing Johnny of anything. I just want to get the facts.
I told you, Sergeant. He's going to work his claim all this summer and then sell it. We're going to be married and go back to the States.
This claim's number 20 on Eldorado.
Yes.
Now, is there any reason why there should be hard feelings between Johnny and Ruth Jennings?
Oh, it's all my fault.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Ruth likes me too. Johnny wanted him to keep away from me.
And he didn't.
I can take care of myself. I told Johnny to forget about Ruth.
All right, I guess that's enough.
Where are you going?
The Yukon Bell.
To get Tim?
Yes, Sue.
Let him go, Sergeant. Forget about the money. Just let him go.
I can't do that, Sue. Not now. All right, King.
It was shortly before midnight when the purser, the sergeant, and Constable Downey held a conference on the second deck of the Yukon Bell, just outside Tim Blake's stateroom.
It's time for us to cast off, Sergeant. Shall I ask the captain to wait?
No, Tim's probably hiding out until you're underway. We won't hold you up. We'll simply go along. As soon as we find him, you can drop us off upon the landing downriver.
Sure thing.
You wait in his cabin, Jim.
Right, Sergeant.
I'll go up and have a talk with the captain.
All right, men, stand by to catch off.
At midnight, the Yukon Bell cast off and steamed out into the river. Constable Downey waited in the dark cabin. Half an hour passed, and then he heard a faint click. Someone was turning the handle of the cabin door. The door creaked open. The constable stood up, but as he did so, his holster hit the bunk. Instantly, the door slammed shut. The constable slammed out of the cabin. The deck was still crowded with passengers. The constable saw Tim disappearing down a companionway and took after him. But when he reached the lower deck, there was no sign of Tim. He might have descended to the engine hold or crossed to the starboard side and headed for the upper decks. The constable decided to report to the sergeant. He found him with a purser on the hurricane deck.
I've seen him, Sergeant.
Where?
He came to his cabin, but he heard me inside and took off. I lost him on the lower deck.
You think the captain would lend a hand, Mike? Have some of the crew help us?
He'll do anything he can.
Hey! Somebody up there with that lifeboat pulling their tarpaulin back. It's Blake, and he's seen us.
Stay where you are, Blake, in the name of the law.
The crazy fool's going overboard. He's going to get...
The sergeant pulled off his boots and his tunic. King went after him, and they hit the water shortly after Blake did. Blake, burdened down with clothes, was finding it hard to keep afloat when the sergeant reached his side. The sergeant slipped an arm around him and struck out for shore, swimming as strongly as he could. The great danger was the paddle wheel, and he could feel its suction drawing him in. He fought as hard as he could. He was powerless against the drag. The paddles were slapping the water only a few feet away. The sergeant and his helpless burden were being drawn down and under. The water closed over them. And then, miraculously, the terrible pull was gone, and the sergeant rose to the surface. So close were the paddles that he could touch it, but the wheel had stopped. A moment later, the sergeant, King, and the unconscious Blake were being pulled up and onto the lower deck of the steamer. As artificial respiration was applied to Blake, the captain decided to return to Dawson, and the steamer made a great circle, headed upstream. Dawson was in sight when Blake opened his eyes.
Had a narrow escape, Blake.
Sergeant Preston.
Yes. What made you think you could swim the shore with this money belt full of nuggets around your waist?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Now look and see. This money belt. You were wearing it.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing wrong in that, is there?
Nothing, except the name on it isn't yours. It's Ruth Jennings.
Yeah. He gave it to me, Sergeant. I swear.
It looks bad, Tim.
All right. I'll admit I stole it. But I didn't kill Ruth. I swear I didn't.
You'd better tell me the truth and nothing but the truth.
I will. I will, Sergeant. I was in my room right next door to Ruth's. I heard Johnny Larkin come in, and he and Ruth had an argument. And they started to fight. It sounded like the whole building was coming down. Then finally I heard the door open and shut. And everything went quiet. I waited a minute or two, and then I went into Ruth's room. He was lying in a pool of blood. He was dead. I didn't even touch him, I swear. And his money belt was lying on the floor beside him, and I took it. Scavenger. It wasn't any good to him.
All right. What happened afterward?
I went down to the Yukon Bell and bought a ticket.
That's when Sue met you.
Yeah. I went back to the hotel and packed my bags. I hired an Indian to put them aboard in my stateroom. I came aboard myself when the gangplank was real crowded. Then I hid
Not
until
so fast. When you went back to the hotel to pack your bags, did you see anyone?
No. I used the back stairs.
Did you go into Ruth's room again?
No.
When I got there looking for you, Ruth had disappeared.
I never even touched him, I swear.
You didn't touch him, you can't swear to the fact that he's dead.
He is, though. And Johnny killed him.
What do you think, Sergeant? I don't know, Jim. Can't prove a murder without a corpse. Dead men don't usually get up and walk away. Oh, we're talking. You take Tim to jail and lock him up. Charge, robbery unarmed. I'll change my clothes and write to Johnny's claim on the Eldorado.
Sergeant Preston made a quick change and was preparing to mount Blackie outside the stables in back of headquarters when King began to bark. The sergeant turned and saw Sue running toward him. The girl was holding a handkerchief to her cheek.
Sergeant Preston.
Sue, you've been hurt.
No, I'm all right.
What's the matter with your cheek?
That's where he hit me.
Who?
Ruth Jennings.
When? Where?
At my cabin. It must have been, I don't know, about a half an hour ago.
What happened?
Well, after I talked to you, after I finally stopped crying, I went home. Ruth was waiting for me there. He's alive.
I'm glad to hear it.
And I was glad to see him, even though I detest him. It was only when he began to talk that I became frightened. You see, Johnny and he had a fight.
Yes, I know.
And Johnny knocked him out. Ruth said that while he was unconscious, Johnny stole his money belt. But that can't be true, Sergeant. Why would Johnny...
It isn't true. It was Tim who stole the money belt.
Oh, and you've gotten it back. I heard them talking out in front. Tim's been arrested.
Yes, what about Ruth?
Well, if you wanted to know where Johnny was, I could see he was in an ugly mood and he had a gun. I wasn't going to tell him anything, but he began to twist my arm and I had to.
You told him what?
Well, only where Johnny's claim is. He could have found that out some other place anyway.
How long ago?
Oh, about a half an hour. As he was leaving, he took the butt of his gun and knocked me down. I must have hit my head.
Half an hour.
He's gone after Johnny, Sergeant. I know he means to kill him.
Steady, Blackie. Got that cut taken care of, Sue.
You've got to hurry, Sergeant.
Come along, King, but I don't think you'll be able to keep up, boy.
Stop him, Sergeant.
I'll do my best. On, Blackie!
The sergeant raced out of town with King close behind him. But when the Klondike Trail was reached and Blackie was given his head, the dog was unable to keep up. It was 15 miles to Johnny Larkin's claim, and the sergeant rode hard all the way. There was a tinge of light in the eastern sky when he reached the cabin. There was a light in the window. The sergeant pulled Blackie to a sliding stop and hit the ground running. Johnny was lying on the floor. He was alone. The sergeant knelt beside him.
Shot, but still alive.
He ran outside, found the first aid kit in his saddlebag, and returned to the side of the wounded man. He slipped out of his harness and tunic and went to work. It was an ugly wound, and speed was important. He managed to stop the flow of blood and was washing the wound when he heard footsteps behind him. He glanced up only for a second. Ruth Jennings was standing in the doorway.
You're wasting your time, aren't you?
He isn't dead yet.
You'll die, though.
Not if I can help it.
I heard you coming and I hid in the woods. I was going to light out, but then I got thinking it over. The girl told you I came up here.
Yes.
I figured she must have. And I figured that after you found him here, you'd come after me.
You're pretty good at figuring things out, aren't you?
Yeah.
I don't agree. I suppose you still think Johnny stole your money belt.
He did.
It was Tim Blake who did that.
Tim Blake? You're loco.
Tim Blake, who had the room next to you at the palace. Came in, found you lying unconscious on the floor with your belt beside you. He stole it. Right now, Tim's in jail and your belt's at headquarters waiting for you.
No thanks, Sergeant. I won't be showing up at headquarters to pick it up. I got more gold stashed away. I can do without it.
You think Johnny here will die?
Yeah.
And that you'll have to stand trial for murder.
Even if he lives, it'll be attempted murder.
That's correct. So you're going to try to escape?
Not before I stop you from following me. Stand up and walk over to the other side of the table.
I'm going to finish bandaging Johnny.
Get away from your gun.
I couldn't possibly reach my gun before you shoot.
No, I guess you can't. I might just as well pull the trigger and get it over.
Pull that trigger and hang for murder.
With you out of the way, I won't hang at all.
King's heart was nearly bursting. He had been left far behind on the level stretch of trail along the Klondike. But when the trail began to twist and turn around the gravel piles and sluices on the Bonanza, he had found 100 shortcuts. And now he had found Blackie, and he knew that his master was just inside the cabin. But there was a man standing in the doorway. King saw the gun in his hand.
Right, Sergeant.
He saw him level it at the sergeant, and with desperate fury, King leaped. Ruth pulled the trigger as he went down, but the bullet splintered the table to the right of the sergeant's head. Before Ruth could fight clear of King, the sergeant's foot came down on his gun hand. The gun was twisted from his nerveless fingers.
That's all, Ruth. You're under arrest in the name of the Crown for attempted murder.
It was 3 days later that Johnny Larkin opened his eyes for the first time. Sue was sitting beside his cot, holding his hand. There was a dog at her left, and on the other side, above her head, Johnny could see a blur of red.
Johnny.
Hello, Sue. Is that Sergeant Preston?
Yes, Johnny.
King. What happened?
Don't you remember? Ruth shot you.
Oh, yeah. She said I had his money belt.
The doctor says you mustn't talk, darling.
Everything's all right, Johnny. Roof has his money belt. But even if he uses all the gold in it to defend himself, he'll be convicted for attempted murder.
Attempted?
Yes, only attempted. You're going to get well. And when you do, this case will be closed.
In just a moment, Sergeant Preston will give you a preview of...
My problems with your healthy. You got to look after yourself. And if that means you want to go and have a beer with your buddy, go have a beer with your buddy. But you can't tell me what to do. I won't tell you what to do. That's my way of looking at it.
Thank you very much for the call, Ben. 877-399-9898. Let's go to Sean in North Vancouver. Sean, Ben says to just, let me deal with it. Not take care of me, you take care of you. What do you think we should do with lockdowns? What do you want?
I live alone. I got 2 people in my bubble, my ex-girlfriend, my current girlfriend, so it's easy for me. But I think the public's losing confidence in our leaders or the government spokespersons. And at the end of the day, we need public buy-in. As a police officer, I certainly agree with the comment you made that we need public buy-in. I can't enforce my way out of a pandemic any more than I can enforce my way with bicycle helmets. If the majority of the population decides they're going one way and it's the opposite direction to what the rules say, I can't do that. And the public now are then set up. I think some of the spokespersons have lost credibility, and it makes it harder to get buy-in.
Yeah, credibility is a big word these days, and I would agree with you. It certainly has been a loss. Thank you very much for the call, Sean. Drive well. 877-399-9898. We are up against the clock. We have a full board of calls at the moment. Please do not go anywhere because we will continue the conversation after the top of the hour. We have a bunch of text messages, too. What do you want? 877-399-9898 for lockdowns. I'm not here to argue with you or convince you anything. What do you want to see now? Let me know where you're at. I'm Shane Hewitt. It's The Shift. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Stereo Mike.
Yeah, we got 3 tickets to the Brand Band concert happening this Monday night at the Pacific Palisades. But you can all call in if you want to answer a question. Maybe what is Todd's favorite cheese? Jackie just called us and said it was a form of rock before. Let's see about that. Give us a ring ding ding. It's a beautiful day. Yeah, Todd, this is Fishy. Ring-a-ding-a-ding-a. Want those 3 Brand Band tickets, man? What do you need? Todd. Come on. I woke up again this morning with the sun in my eyes. When life came over with a script surprise. A mafioso story with a twist. I do walk through Julie Moore. Here to get your ass out of bed. Said I was waiting on the way. But we did nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I think, what the hell am I? You've been drinking in LA. And I got the freedom for the flavor, the pain and the flavor, till I'm in the and the girls on the bus kept on laughing at us. We're on 10 down to Venice again. Clearing out the G-Funk, sipping on the juice and gin. Just me and a friend, feeling kind of groovy, working on a movie. Yeah, right. But we did nothing, absolutely fucking nothing. I'll say, what the hell am I? You've been drinking in LA, and living with me. I'm taking Yeah, we're trying to trade bits. Some men, they don't want it to hurt us. And other men, they won't want with the fuss. You can see them all bitching by the bar about the fine line between the rich and the poor. And we turn to me and say, what you think we got in that sign? You got the confusion. And I guess that's something. So I asked you what the hell am I? You've been drinking in LA.
This spring on Showcase.
My patriarchal ancestor, Lawrence Rutherford, found in our town.
From the creator of The Good Place at Parks and Recreation.
Nathan, I'm calling to request a response to Mayor Chisenhall's decision to move Big Larry.
You're listening to Chin Radio AM 1540, the voice of multicultural Toronto, bringing you the latest updates on COVID-19. Stay informed, stay safe, and stay tuned to Chin Radio AM 1540.
Challenge of the Yukon. It's Yukon King, swiftest and strongest lead dog of the Northwest, blazing the trail for Sergeant Preston of the Northwest Mounted Police in his relentless pursuit of lawbreakers. On King, on you husky. Gold discovered in the Yukon. A stampede to the Klondike in the wild race for riches. Back to the days of the gold rush, with Sergeant Preston and his wonder dog, Yukon King, as they meet the challenge of the Yukon. Sergeant Preston was driving along the trail to Wolf Creek when he sighted a team heading toward him from the opposite direction. As the team drew closer, the sergeant recognized the driver as a sourdough named Bernie Mitchell. Bernie's face was excited as he halted his dogs and jumped from the sled runners.
Hey, finished shot you there. I'm sure glad to see you. I thought I was going to have to go all the way to Dawson to get a hold of my Marty.
What's wrong, Bernie?
You know Joe Hopwood, the storekeeper at Wolf Creek, don't you?
Of course. What about him?
Well, he was shot to death last night. And all the gold in his safe was stolen.
Any idea who did it?
Well, the folks at Wolf Creek think it was Doug Leonard.
Doug Leonard? Why, no, Doug. He's no killer.
Of course he's no killer. I've been friends with that young fella ever since he staked his claim. And I'm willing to bet he's not guilty. But the trouble is, there's evidence against him.
What sort of evidence?
Well, there was a handkerchief lying in front of the safe. It had Doug's initials on it.
Is it really Doug's handkerchief?
Yeah, he admits it belongs to him. But he claims he lost it about a week ago.
What about the clerk who worked for Joe?
Well, he wasn't there when it happened. He'd gone to Dawson to bring in supplies. Got back last night. He was the one who found the body.
What's been done with Doug? Has he been taken prisoner?
Yeah, they got him locked up in the stock room back at the store. We better not waste any time getting there.
What do you mean?
Well, that gold that was stolen didn't all belong to Joe. A lot of it belonged to the miners. They didn't like to keep it around their cabin, so they got Joe to store it in his safe. If they get stirred